Good day, good day, good day. It's May 31st. It's time to talk about May wrap-up. How'd I do on reading this month? Stay tuned, that's coming right up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, it is the end of May. It is time to talk about my reading for May. How did this month go for reading for me? So let's talk about that. Before I get into that, of course, don't forget to make sure that you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I do post videos at least once per week, every single Friday. Sometimes I'll post things more than once per week, but at a minimum, every single Friday here on the channel. Check out the links down below. Bookstagram, Patreon, Discord, all that good stuff will be linked below. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what I've read this month. So I had set a reading target this year of 75 books, and with the 8 completed books this month, that brings me up to 33 out of 75 books read this year so far. So I am definitely on track to hit my reading goals for the year, and I'm looking forward to doing just that. So let's talk about what did I actually read this month. So of course I had read, as I do every month, I'm reading through H.P. Lovecraft's collected works, Tales of Horror. So I read a couple of stories this month from H.P. Lovecraft. So this month's H.P. Lovecraft stories were The Festival, The Shunned House, and The Vault. Now I gotta be honest, I don't have much to say about any of these 3 stories specifically this month all that much, although I do have another H.P. Lovecraft video coming out sometime in June, so stay tuned for that, because there are definitely some Lovecraft stories that I haven't talked about yet that I do have a video coming out on, so definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, just the 3 Lovecraft stories this month, not a whole lot to say about them really, just don't really have anything to say about it. Still enjoyed it, but not one of those things that are like, whoa, this was awesome or anything like that for this month. Maybe they'll get better with next month's Lovecraft. Who knows? We'll see. And of course, stay tuned for next month to find out what I'm going to read for Lovecraft next month. Alright, so moving on from there, I also read, finally, I can now say that I've actually read all the Wheel of Time books. I finally picked up and read New Spring by Robert Jordan from the Wheel of Time book series. So this kind of takes place before the events in the original series of books. So this goes back to the Tower when Moraine and Swan were not yet quite Aes Sedai and were just at the stage where they were being raised to Aes Sedai in the White Tower. And it kind of starts their journey in the beginning of their adventure to find the Dragon Reborn. So this was a good read. I really did enjoy it. It was a good entry into it. Definitely it works great as a standalone. But definitely I'd say if you haven't read The Wheel of Time yet, you might want to read The Wheel of Time first before this book, because ultimately a lot of the stuff I found in this book does rely on you knowing about the Wheel of Time to begin with and what it's all about. But a good read. I definitely enjoyed it. I also read Reaper's Gale, or rather this was kind of a flow over into this month from last month. I started at the end of April but finished it up in May. Reaper's Gale from Malazan, Book of the Fallen. Again, Malazan is just an epically massive series, both in terms of the size of the books, but also in the scope of the story, the history, the lore, the characters, the backstory, different continents, crazy magic, demons and gods, and super powerful wizardry, and all kinds of crazy stuff. A whole bunch of different types of races, from the K'chain Chamali to the Tist Eater and the Tist Andi and humans, and just all kinds of crazy stuff within this book, or within this series as a whole. And it's definitely one that I'm enjoying, although I admit despite I'm enjoying it, it's still one of those series that are a bit of a struggle to really get through. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this series. From the Discworld, I read The Fifth Elephant. Now this was not my favorite Discworld book by any stretch of the imagination. For a Discworld book so far, I think I'd have to put it on one of the least enjoyed of the Discworld, which sounds bad, but even the best Discworld book is better than so many other books. So still really enjoyed it. This is a Discworld book of the Watch, where of course Captain Vimes is basically sent off to be a diplomat to a foreign nation, and he's got to figure out how to do this. So Captain Vimes is just kind of mixed up in all this, and really good. It was a good watch book for sure. Definitely no argument from me on that. I did enjoy The Fifth Elephant, though it's not my favorite of the Discworld series so far. definitely still very enjoyable, and I absolutely enjoyed The Fifth Elephant. One of the other books that I read last month was Gore Details, Adventures from the Dark Side of Science. Now, I really enjoyed this book. I got some really cool insight into kind of the darker, taboo subjects and how science plays into that. Everything from around sex and procreation to the decomposition of bodies and just all kinds of really cool, gross, and what we think of disgusting, nasty stuff. And the science behind all that. This Gore Details book, if you're interested in that kind of thing, this would definitely be a book for you, and I would highly recommend Gore Details. This was a really enjoyable read, and I'm sure that you would enjoy it as well. So that was definitely a fun read. One of the other books I finished last month was The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I've been reading this series and this beautiful illustrated edition of this series to my daughter. She's really super enjoying this series. We, of course, are now on the Two Towers, but she's really been enjoying this series so far and really enjoying having it read to her, and I am certainly enjoying it. I was actually planning on rereading the series this year anyway when my daughter said, "Hey, I want to hear this story," so I'm reading it to her, and it's just been so much fun. She's loving it. I'm loving reading it to her. Just awesome. So we finished up The Fellowship of the Ring from J.R.R. Tolkien's classic tale, The Lord of the Rings. And then, last but not least, one of the other books or book series that I finished this month was actually Brandon Sanderson's White Sands. So we got the White Sands Volume 1, followed up by White Sands Volume 2, and then followed up by, of course, White Sands Volume 3. Now, I don't normally read graphic novels, but it is part of the greater Cosmere, and I didn't want to not read it simply because I'm not a graphic novel fan in general. So I had to pick it up and read it now. In the community, White Sands seems to be the least favorite of all the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere works, which is understandable. I mean, I have to admit, even after reading it, I don't think it's the greatest or best Cosmere works out there, even the best of Brandon Sanderson. I don't know if it was just the format in which this story was written or what, but definitely I would still say I think I still enjoyed White Sands more than anybody else that I've at least seen talk about this with respect to the Cosmere. I did enjoy it, I really did. Albeit, it definitely, if I were to list my favorite Cosmere series, this would probably be at the bottom, honestly. It's definitely not the best of the Cosmere, but I still enjoyed White Sands nonetheless, and apparently more than other people in the community who seem to not really like it, so many of them. So those are all the books that I read in this month, or read in the month of May. So let's talk a little bit about, from these reads, which ones the Viewer's Choice reads or Viewer's Choice review has been selected. Actually, at the time of filming, there's actually a three-way split on the Viewer's Choice poll here on the channel between The Fifth Elephant at 33% of the votes, New Spring at 33% of the votes, and White Sands at 33% of the votes. So I'm just going to have to pick which one, as the tiebreaker, is going to be the Viewer's Choice review for this month. So stay tuned for that to find out which one of these three becomes the Viewer's Choice review, which should be posted no later than June 15th. So definitely stay tuned for that. So that leads us into, what am I reading right now? So as for what am I reading right now at the time of filming this video, and hopefully I'll get through at least one of these before the end of May, but right now I just recently started Toll the Hounds from Steven Erikson's Malazan Book of the Fallen. I do not expect to finish this before the end of the month, so I expect this will probably flow over into the month of June, but I just recently started Toll the Hounds. As of the time of filming, I'm 176 pages in to a 1,300 page book, so this one is definitely going to take me a while, but I do look forward to getting through it and finishing this. And then after this, we really only have 2 more Malazan books after that, and I'll be done my entire read of Malazan Book of the Fallen. The other one that I'm working on as of the time of filming, which I do expect to finish before the end of the month, is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. So this one is actually a reread for me. I'm actually doing some immersive reading with this through the graphic audio on Audible as I read along with it, and I have to say I am loving the graphic audio format. as I read along with this book. So there definitely are parts of the book that, I mean, there are sections of the book that are kind of skipped over, but nothing dramatic. Like they're just like a paragraph here or part of a paragraph there, or maybe some dialogue that's in the book that didn't make it into the graphic audio adaptation, things like that. Nothing as far as removing an entire scenes or anything like that. It still basically follows the book almost word for word, with very slight and few alterations here and there, but it's still a really enjoyable read. I'm really enjoying having that full graphic audio experience on my reread, that immersive read. It is so much fun. I wish more books were adapted to graphic audio because I am loving it. The last one that I am currently working on right now is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So this is the one that I am reading to my daughter. We're reading a little bit each and every day in this book as we go through here. So I am reading that right now and likely will flow into June, and maybe I'll finish it in June. I don't know. We'll kind of have to see how it goes. We are kind of taking it slow, typically only about 5 pages per day, but we are taking it through the series, and hopefully the idea is to cover over throughout the summer and then watch the movies together. So I'm looking forward to that. So right now I'm reading to my daughter The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. So that wraps up May for me. That is what I did in the month of May. Those are the books that I've read. So let me know in the comments down below. Have you read any of these books? Do you want to read any of these books? Let me know down below. We could have a great conversation about that. You can also join me over on my Discord and bookstagram. That will be linked below as well. And of course, as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye!